Aubameyang! Oh, brilliant! He took it first time and with devastating effect.
Mo Salah. Can he finish things off here? He can. It is 2-0.
And we are back, finally. Sideline Talk podcast. Welcome back to another show. A new month. Well, let's just say we have to get going again. Boys, it's been a while, but we've certainly got a lot to get into. Lee, I'll go to you first. How are you doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, I don't think you'll be able to take the grin off my face all show then, to be honest with you, mate. Liverpool, the most successful team in England, have won another trophy. It's Pancake Day. What's not to smile about?
Yeah. I mean, I've got certain things to go about, but not as much of a trophy just yet. Well, probably not this season. But Chris, mate, how's things your end? Everything going okay?
Yeah, good guys, good. Good to have me on again. I've parked aside the Milan derby tonight. That's currently gone on the Coppa Italia to be with you guys tonight. So
I feel honoured. I've got to be honest. I don't know how much honoured I should feel, but yeah, I feel like you're taking one for the team here. But yeah, it's been busy on and off the field. Obviously, lots going on at the moment. Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone in Ukraine. We stand with them. Of course, we condone everything that's going on there. I mentioned to FIFA and UEFA for making that statement that we're a united front, banning all Russian teams from their competitions. But boys, before we get into obviously the Premier League and stuff like we usually would, I do want to gather your thoughts quickly on this. There's mixed opinions. Some obviously believe that it's unfair to certain teams as they have no say in the matter. It's out of their hands and above them. And we've seen certain things happen, such as Spartak Moscow being removed from the Europa League, which meant that Leipzig got an automatic qualification to the next round. What do you boys make of it all? Chris, I want to go to you first on this. What's your thoughts on the way that FIFA and UEFA have decided to go about this? Do you think they're right in what they've done, or do you think there is a case that the football teams can make?
I think FIFA and UEFA are right, and I think they've actually been acting very, very slow on this. I think a lot of decisions that have been coming out of football across the board has been based on PR decisions and not actually on morale decisions. Let's be serious here. What Russia's doing right now is a disgrace to humanity and should be sanctioned beyond control. This is a political war, and unfortunately, you look at the scenes on St. Petersburg and Moscow, the protests, people that I don't want to make this a political podcast, but we all know what the Russian regime is like, and the fact that people having to speak out and stuff like this. The Spartak Moscow and I think maybe the Lokomotiv Moscow managers all resigned in protest. It says a lot about the way that the feeling is in Russia right now towards the government. This is a government war, this is a government invasion, and I think unfortunately sport does have to. Putin sports washed the 2018 Russian World Cup. He was pride and center. He gave the FIFA president a sort of a Medal of Honor. Putin suffers when sport is taken away from Russia, and I think this is the right call to make.
Agreed. And Lee, just want to quickly get your thoughts on obviously what's going on at the moment in terms of like Russian teams. Do you think this is going to actually have an effect? Do you think it's actually going to do anything, or do you think it's going to perhaps? I mean, this is the statement. I did want to share and bring this up. This is the statement that Spartak Moscow come out with. Obviously, they're one of the few teams in Russia that I know of, obviously, because they play at a higher league. But they've come out and said the decision to exclude our team from Europa League is upsetting. We believe that sport, even in the most difficult times, should aim to build bridges and not burn them. We'll focus on domestic competitions and hope for a speedy achievement of peace that everybody needs. What's your take on that?
I kind of get it from their point of view that they obviously don't want to be excluded, and build bridges. Obviously sport, as we know, has the power to bring people together, but at the same time, how do you punish war crimes? If I can't even think of the words to say, to be honest with you. I don't think there's anything that can happen in sport that's going to make any kind of difference to the war that's going on in Ukraine. No matter what they do, it's not going to make any effect in it.
Yeah,
I
I suppose
agree,
it's about just doing what
it.
we can do, isn't it? Like it's just about
it's
making
doing what
every
we
point
can
we
do,
can.
and I do agree with it. If there's, even though it's not going to change government's mind about what they're doing, if it's going to punish them in any way, fucking go for it. There was one weird one I didn't understand, which was about the national team, the Russian national team, about changing their name or something like that. I didn't quite understand what that was about.
That was, again, that goes back to my point around PR exercises, where basically FIFA and UEFA are just reading the room and making decisions based on that.
But they can't pay under the they can't pay under the name Russia, but it's like Union.
So
something like that.
Yeah, so effectively, Russia was going to be basically what the IOC did with Russia for the Olympics because of the drug scandal. Basically, Russia was going to have a completely neutral name, no Russian flag, no Russia reference, no Russian national anthem, that sort of thing. But basically, Poland, Sweden, who were in the same group for the playoffs as Russia for the World Cup, basically turned around and said, no, even under those rules, we still refuse to pay them. So almost like FIFA were trying to FIFA and UEFA were trying to, I think there was a FIFA decision, sorry. FIFA were trying to find middle ground to keep Russia happy, but also try and keep everyone else happy. And everyone else just turned and said, no, we're not playing them still. So that's now completely folded. And yeah, Russia's now being excluded from the playoffs for the World Cup as well.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it, in terms of a FIFA and UEFA front, they are doing everything possible, which I like to see. But I agree with Lee in the fact that it's not going to change things. Unfortunately, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But yeah, thoughts go out to everyone dealing with that. You know, those scenes in Everton and Man City, which we're going to touch on briefly, just heartbreaking. Like, how can players sit there and deal with football while this is happening? But we are here to talk about Premier League and the Carabao Cup, as Lee mentioned, which I'm sure he'll enjoy talking about.
Let's get back to some positive news.
Yeah, some positive stuff that's going on. But yeah, we saw, I suppose, I'm not going to leave anything out because, like I said, it has been a long time. But yeah, the results from the weekend, you can see at the bottom of the screen. Southampton victorious against Norwich. No surprises there, really. Much better off this season. Unbeaten in their last 5 games, including fixtures against Spurs and Man United. So good for them. I want to talk about United. I don't know about you boys, but what a fall they're on at the moment. I don't know. It's just quite funny to just even consider. You know, Ollie's at the wheel. Everyone was talking about that, and it's still going wrong. And it's all at the end of this, man. You know, look at that happy face. Just look at him. He's happy. All that fighting over Ronaldo. Man City ended up getting away with it. They didn't want this man at their club. They didn't need a striker. Boys, I've got to get your thoughts. You know,
what I will say about United.
Oh, sorry, go on, Nick.
Obviously, we're all enjoying. Is it as bad as actually everyone says? Because I think it might have been Rio Ferdinand or something who come out of a stat the other day that since Ralph's come in, there's only like maybe 1 or 2 teams that have actually got more points than them. I don't know how correct that is, but maybe because their performances just seem shit. But they obviously dropped 2 points at the weekend against. Well, they've dropped.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of points against Watford this season, aren't they? But
yeah, I mean, they've only won two of their last 7 games in all competitions. Like, obviously, they drew in Spain to Atletico, which even that was a very lucky result at the end of it. They relied on their young man Alanga to bloody get them forward again, and that was the second. Yeah, rhythm is a dancer. That's it. They got knocked out on penalties to Middlesbrough, who hopefully will do the same tonight against Tottenham Hotspur. But Chris, I'm gonna get your take on this all, because obviously, like I mentioned about Ollie at the wheel, he clearly wasn't the problem because things are still not really going brilliantly now. Lots of slander towards the bigger names such as Ronaldo, even Bruno, Rashford. I'm hearing all the big names get really called out. And I'm just thinking, like, how can this get better? You know, is it these players that are at fault for not showing, you know, big, like the sort of reactions you see after the game when they're losing? It's just not good enough. But what's your thoughts on it all and the fact that these players are being put to blame? Do you think it is just because of a case that they're the only ones there? You know, they're the sort of big fish in the pond.
No, I think I think the blame does lay with the players. I think I can't remember who analysed it, but I was watching. I've watched lots of like punditry stuff, and Sol made a really good point about the way Man United is set up. And to think of, you think about last season. Let's take Pogba about the occasion when this is where Pogba was basically pretty much decided he wants to leave, but was also injured because he's injured quite a lot of the time. And they didn't have Ronaldo last season. All they had was sort of a luxury player perspective was Bruno. You've got 10 players, so 9 players pressing, excluding the goalkeeper, and Bruno in the centre. And Bruno Fernandes was an absolute revelation last season. Like, he was unplayable. Like, everyone had him in the fantasy team because he was guaranteed to go every match, whether it's a penalty, long range free kick, long range goal was absolutely amazing. Now you've got the situation where they bought Ronaldo when Pogba's now, thinking, oh, I want to get involved with the squad. You've got theoretically 3 players in there that don't run, they don't cover distance, they don't press. It was a really good sort of insight in the sense of, effectively you've got a lot of them players on, trying to press on the wings. It just puts a lot of emphasis on other parts of the pitch, and it just doesn't work and just doesn't, it just doesn't function correctly like a well-oiled machine like they were under Ollie. Like, they set a record for unbeaten away under Ollie. Like, let's not forget that. Like, Ollie was it became a bit of a meme at the end of the day with Ollie's at the wheel. But actually, considering where they were, and the thing is, you have to question their recruitment. They didn't adjust areas that they should have been. They've been crying out for a defensive midfielder for how long now? So until you actually get and now Ragnick is this interim manager. So Ragnick's not going to make any big substitutions, any big transfers or anything like that. So effectively, what they've got to wait for is for the new manager to be signed, which they reckon they could probably do before the end of the season. So the new manager can then start thinking about what signings does he need in the summer and how can he revolutionise his team. But quite frankly, I think Man United do need to look at a lot of areas and actually, there is a question mark of whether Ronaldo can be sustained, because Ronaldo will expect to start end of the day. Milan, I'm saying probably Ibrahimovic, but Ibra is a really, really old man right now. But still, it's just you're paying big money for a player that is expecting to be part of the focal points. Pogba, what's his future like? He still hasn't signed a contract. His contract's up in the summer. Is he going to go to Real Madrid? Does he go back to Juventus? Who knows? So much uncertainty, and so many areas that just need to be sorted. Like, there's been question mark about defense. Signing a defender. Varane was meant to be the solution to that. Hasn't happened. So who knows? It almost is like the future of Man United is hinging on the manager they get in, and the 2 names that came out today are Poch and Ten Hag. They're the 2 favourites.
It does. I mean, I for one can't see Ten Hag coming. I just think if he's going to leave that job he's got going on at Ajax, it's going to be for Man City maybe. I feel like Man United is too much of a risk, and he's got something good going at Ajax as well. And at the end of the day, this at the moment is a big risk because you're coming in with, like you said, a lot of work to do. But Lee, I want to get your thoughts on whether, do you think there is just too much to do too soon? Because United for countless years now have been a team without a trophy. Last year I get like Chris was saying, they weren't that bad. They were in the title race for a considerable amount of time, and they were the closest up there. But do you think there's perhaps just too much work to do for whatever manager does come in?
No, not at all. United, at the end of the day, are one of the biggest clubs in the world. Whatever manager comes in, he'll have money to back him. He'll have money to spend on the squad. Whether he gets the right players in is down to the manager and the recruitment team. Poch has obviously been rumoured for United for years now. I almost feel like he's going to get that job eventually, whether it's next season or in a couple of years' time. It just feels like he's going to get that job. Yeah, I think if you're a football manager yourself and the United job comes up, no matter, unless you're at one of the really big teams, it's going to be an attractive proposition because you're going to get paid handsomely and you've got an opportunity to possibly build a team to get higher up there. But I mean, in the short term, I don't think there's going to be any team except for maybe Chelsea that's going to challenge the top 2 at the moment.
Yeah.
I just think there's levels, and the way. I
love how he had to bring himself in. I
think there's levels. And the way I just feel like City and Liverpool are just higher above the rest, or maybe Chelsea very close. I just think they're a lot higher than the rest of the league at the moment, and I don't think that's going to change for at least 2 years.
A fair comment. I think that's a fair comment, to be honest. But I'm enjoying it. You know, they've got they've got City next, so I can
Yeah.
only hope that things aren't gonna. I hope so that things aren't gonna improve. I know Lee, you obviously think differently because you want City to drop points. And to be honest, if there ever is a game that Man United are going to respond, it is a derby.
Yeah.
They have
Well, they've
good
done it
history.
before, haven't they?
Oh, no.
Was it last year? Was it last year or the year before? They beat City.
I think it was last year. I think Ollie won there last year at the Etihad. I'm pretty sure. And this one's at
Yeah.
Old Trafford, to be honest. So
And
No,
I mean,
that's the Etihad, because the Old Trafford one was earlier this year. Was one when City,
when they got
yeah,
absolutely
2-0, and City didn't get off first gear. They absolutely just played them off the
Yeah.
park,
But
and literally it was like a training game.
form doesn't always come into these games. However, City, I would say, are not in the best of form.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to touch on that in a little bit, but yeah, they got away
I don't
with
think
absolute...
I don't think their form's too massively different from United's at the moment in terms of league points. In the last, say, 5 games or so, I don't know.
They're just scraping
Yeah.
wins, aren't they? Really, which is not really great considering the teams they've been playing. But we will see. I hope this fall continues because obviously it's good for me as from an Arsenal perspective. But we have got
You got to win. You got to win your games though, as well as Man United falter. You've got to win your 3 in hand.
We've got to win ours. Yeah, well, yeah, that's a different matter. Yeah, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Tottenham, not exactly the easiest of games to do. But boys, we've got to talk about it because this is really spicing up. What a win for Newcastle United. I mean, Eddie Howe can only be relieved. The Saudi owners are starting to, believe they can survive this race, winning 2-0 over Brentford. And it's really spicing up down there. Like, the thing is, for me, I think Brentford now look in trouble because they started the season looking promising. And, we were like, okay, they got the win over us. And then they were starting to get these good results. And even when they were losing, they weren't, it wasn't convincing wins over them. Now they sit 15th after 27 games, with Burnley in 18th having 3 games in hand on them. And I get points on the board is better than games in hand. I understand that whole thing. But Chris, I'll stay with you actually. Do you think that Brentford should be concerned, or is the competition perhaps not cut out for the challenge? Because when you look at Brentford, they haven't got a necessarily bad squad. You had Ivan Toney that was doing amazing things last year, perhaps not as good this season. Christian Eriksen's just been signed, who we've only just seen sort of break into the team. But what's your take on this now and the title race overall? Do you think Brentford are perhaps one that may fall short?
I think everyone's got to be worried around. So I don't think it's just a case of Brentford. I think it's such a tight game. I look at the table now, and it's just you literally, in some ways, with the way as you touched on, was that Newcastle's form at the moment. You say Newcastle are putting clear, so that dumps Brentford, Leeds, Burnley. Then you got Everton, Watford, Norwich, and 3 of those 6 are going down. Norwich theoretically, you'd probably argue yes, they're most likely, but even then, Norwich are 5 points off safety. So, Norwich get a win and close the gap to 2 points. Whew, gets even tighter. So, to be honest, I'm struggling to single it and any team out really. I'm saying yes is doomed really. Burnley unbeaten in 3. So slightly staggering. Maybe they can look at it, but pressure's on Everton. I think we'll touch on Everton and what happened against Man City and the implications from an Everton perspective. But also, from a Leeds, Leeds have got to be careful as well. I know we'll touch on what's going on at Leeds in a bit as well. So lots of different things happening down the bottom. But I can't single anyone out. But I think Brentford have got to be careful. But it is effectively it's the old cliche, isn't it? We're on Brentford have paid 27. It's 11 cup finals now for Brentford.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, that's a good way to look at it. And to be honest, Eriksen might be the shining light they need. Do you get what I mean? Like, he's obviously going to come in. He's got some experience. I'm not going to say, I can't say too much yet because we've only seen a very small portion of what he can bring back. And he is coming off a long time out of football. But he'll mix things up. But yeah, it brings me right on to the next game I want to talk about. Tottenham breaking records. They're not going to break trophy cabinets because they've got none. But, they'll break some records for sure. Son and Kane, breaking the record of most goals contributed between a duo of 37. You know what? Fair play to him. You've got to get what you can do. And there isn't really much that they are getting at the moment. The record was previously held by Didier Drogba and Lampard. God knows how. God, that's been held for a long time. Then, when you look back to the days that them two were playing, but like I said, each to their own.
You need to mirror those stats with trophies. To be honest,
Yeah, that's what I say. It means nothing unless you're lifting a trophy at the end of it. A big win over Leeds. To be honest, I'm not too surprised because Leeds seem to just be conceding like there's no tomorrow at the moment. They've conceded 60 goals this season. Like, that's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I want to touch on the big elephant in the dressing room, Bielsa sacking. Lee, I'll go to you first about this. What's your thoughts on that? There's been a lot of speculation that perhaps he's overrated and that he doesn't mix it up enough. His style of play is a little bit obvious, should we say? Do you think the time was coming for Bielsa, or do you think this was a harsh decision?
Football is a results-driven business, and he wasn't getting the results. Kind of feel for Leeds fans because they're back in the big time, and it's because of him. It's his style of football that's got them back in the Premier League at the end of the day. And he has, the fans are falling in love with him. And a lot of fans have. If you think back in the day, Leeds were a very hated team. And now everyone loves to watch them. They are football purists' dream to watch on Super Sunday. And that is down to Bielsa. But yeah, they've been getting hammered for a while. You kind of feel a little bit sorry for them with injuries. They've been very unlucky. Bamford hasn't been available for most of the season. Calvin Phillips, who's such an integral part of their play, has not been about much either. So I do feel like they've been a little bit unlucky. But, the man marking system they play is different to pretty much every other team in the league. And yeah, and also the teams they've got hammered by recently are not the games I would probably expect Leeds to win.
Yeah.
Liverpool, United, Tottenham, I wouldn't look at them and think Leeds are going to pick something up today unless they pull off a shock. So I feel like it's been a little bit unlucky. It's not a strange decision because of the results, but at the same time, it's a shame really. It hasn't worked out for him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even I remember us playing them back in December, and they had like I think they were flunked with COVID as well as the injury to Bamford and Phillips. Like they played literally a. But Chris, I know you know a bit more about this man than us. Obviously, he came from Leipzig, but the appointment straight away, they're straight down to business. the seats not even left warm. It's not even gone cold, and someone's come in to replace Jesse Marsch. What's your take on this appointment? And do you think perhaps he can make a change? Obviously, we've just been talking on the battle to survive and how Leeds are very much amongst the mix of who could go down. Do you think he can change the game here?
I think before looking at just Jesse Marsch and sort of his background with Leipzig and Salzburg, I think you got to think about the timing of the sacking and change as well. Like with a lot of sackings, they say the optimal time to sometimes make a sacking season is November, December when a manager can come in and it's got the January transfer window. Leeds have now made this change at end of February in the sense of now Jesse Marsch is going to come in and he's got to work with the players he's got there. This is very much a case of your ability as a coach and your ability to motivate. I've been reading on Twitter, a lot of Leeds fans are nervous in the sense of, let's be honest, the Leeds players were absolutely, you saw the outpouring on social when, Bielsa went, the respect of the players for the coach. And it's whether Jesse can get that and them fighting for him as those players are fighting for Bielsa. But the thing is, with Jesse Marsch's record, it just, for me personally, I'm a bit nervous for Leeds. He was at Red Bull Salzburg for 2 years. Salzburg had won 6 consecutive Austrian league titles before he joined, and then he won another 2. It's the equivalent of a manager going to PSG, bar PSG's occasional blips. So it's a hard judgment there. And then within the Red Bull brand, he then moved to Leipzig. Leipzig went for a massive change in the summer. They got rid of, they just lost the manager to Bayern Munich. Then they also lost Konate, gone to Liverpool. They lost Upamecano, went to Bayern Munich. So big overhaul there. Sabitzer went to Bayern Munich as well. So one of their talismanic midfielders. So they brought a lot of new change. But then Marsch, he played 20. He managed 21 games for Leipzig. 8 wins, 4 draws, and 9 losses. So win average of 38%. You know, for a team like Leipzig, that should be, you know, arguably potentially challenging for the top of Bundesliga. I know no one's going to catch Bayern Munich, but you know, Leipzig have always been around that spot. So you know, starting off really, really poorly, and a lot of blame was put at the players at Leipzig. But yeah, as it's been proved with their new manager who's come in, the former Spartak Moscow manager Domenico Tedesco. Leipzig are a good team. You know, he's getting the best out of Christopher Nkunku. Christopher Nkunku's got some of the best stats in Europe right now, and you know, given the start he had under the season with Jesse Marsch. So it's I hope Jesse Marsch gets it right. You know, no one wants to see a manager come in and fail, but I think, you know, it's definitely going to an arduous task. And as I touched on, you know, it is all about getting those players motivated.
Yeah, I think
what I will say about his motivation, the only thing I've really seen of him is when I think he was at Salzburg and they played Liverpool in the Champions League. We were 3-0 up at half time. And it was actually on YouTube, his half-time team talk, because Klopp made a comment about it after the game. So yeah, we're 3-0 up at half-time.
Shock. What does he comment about?
They got it back to 3-3 before we eventually went on to 4-3. So he's got some, maybe, I guess Leeds fans are just hoping he can transfer that kind of motivational talks to the Leeds players with these last remaining games of the season. But yeah, like Klopp said at the end of the game, like if he had his team talks YouTubed, he would have to quit the club. So,
yeah,
I think he's he might be a bit of an enigma. He might be a bit of a strange character. He's obviously unproven in the Premier League.
And Chris spoke of timing. Like the good thing is Bamford and Phillips look set to return very soon. So I think it is good timing for a new manager to come in. You have that new manager bounce, and your linchpins in the team are returning to the side. So I think that is quite good. From a plus,
it'd be interesting to see what Calvin Phillips does in the summer. Actually, I think.
Yeah. Well, it all depends. It all depends on Leeds. If Leeds go down, Calvin Phillips is history. There's no way he's going to the Championship. He's way too especially after the Euros run. He knows he's too good, and the position he plays in, I feel like a lot of teams could do with that right now.
Yeah, I think they turned down from West Ham, didn't they, in January? 50 mil.
Yeah,
I think there's one team that'll be perfect for him, unfortunately, and we all know who that is.
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately so. But I think he's coming at the right time. We'll see, but he's got a lot of work to do because he's got to pick up points fast. Otherwise, like you said, because it's so tight down there, all it takes is 1 or 2 defeats and you're in the bad the pile. But we'll move on to the one thing.
I will say though, it's nice to see a bit of new blood, and when someone's in a relegation dogfight, they don't just fucking hire Allardyce. actually
do a Watford and just hire Hodgson.
Steve Bruce.
I'm surprised Ranieri didn't go there with the Italian connection.
Yeah, literally gone straight from Watford there. But we've got to talk of Man City Everton, and Lee, I know this one's going to be a sore wound for you because you had a great result on Sunday, but I mean this could have even been, this could have been cherry on the cake, even though it happened beforehand. I got to talk about this moment. I got to address the elephant in the room, and I've seen some badges given this season, but I'm confident. I'm almost confident this is up there. I mean, look at that photo. It speaks for itself. Look at it.
It's mind-blowing, isn't it? It's absolutely mind-blowing.
Look at it. The proof is right there. I get sick and tired of discussing this, and I feel like moaning about it is like fish moaning of water in the sea, because every week in football, you expect these things to happen now. It just comes in the game. You don't expect like good things to happen in terms of officiating. It's always bad. You get Poultini or some other mug making a bad decision, and it's just natural.
But then I think quite a lot of time, with these sort of decisions, not these decisions here, this is just blatant. Like, this is absolutely ridiculously blatant. I think, because I was thinking about this earlier, like, how we always kind of think about what sort of things we want to talk about before we come on the pod. And I was thinking about, like, football, what would you enjoy about football? We enjoy the sort of contentious decisions sometimes, in the 50-50s, like, was it a penalty, wasn't it a penalty, sort of, when you can actually see both sides of the coin. You know, you can see it go either way. But this is so blatant that it actually makes me just so angry and sick. Like it is literally whether you could either put it down to corruption or you can put it down to pure incompetence. You know, it's not even the case of as we've talked about off air when you said it's not the case of VAR doesn't exist and it's down to perception in the moment. They've literally rewound it how many times?
Yeah,
it's just it's mind-boggling.
And the worst thing about
I'm half want to put it down to Tierney, to be fair, because I think he's terrible.
Yeah, he's got bad. He's got bad reputation.
He's got bad form for it, especially with us like this season and previously as well.
And I read that wasn't it him that there's the video that I've seen on Twitter where Klopp went up to him. And he basically gave it his all. And he basically said to him like, "Look, I don't mind referees, but you're an arsehole." He pretty much said in other words, but it was just like, and then he goes and does this just to add fuel to the fire. Following this, so days later, so today this has come out, this morning, in fact, Everton have received an apology from Mike Riley after the VAR failed to award them a penalty. I mean, I feel like this is just making the situation worse. Like, what on earth is that about? For those of you that don't know what PGMOL is, I'm sure most of you do. It's Professional Game Match Officials Limited. But yeah, I mean, why do this now? All right, all well and good, apologising. That's all fine. But I'm sure if we all put our hands together, we wouldn't even be able to count on all our hands how many times this sort of decisions have happened this season. We just mentioned Paul Tierney. He's probably made 6 or 7 already on his own. And they're apologising for this one. What are they going to do now? Every week after this, apologise each time. They'll be knackered.
But there's no punishment either. So, like in Italy, if a referee makes a mistake or makes an absolute grotesque error, they're in Serie C next weekend. Or they're suspended. Actually, in all fairness, the one. So I'll just flash back because I ranted these poor fellas offline at the time. But Milan Spiezza, basically, referee blew up for a free kick, and the ball was obviously going to be played on, and Milan scored. But it was literally like, let's talk about a split second. That referee was suspended for 2 weeks, I think.
It doesn't happen in football. Look at Paul Tierney. He's playing week in after week, and he's a
absolutely
fraud.
I think there's only one time I can remember it happening in the Premier League, and that was Stuart Atwell when he was like 26, and they just felt he was a bit too young, so they moved him back down a bit.
But and then they brought him back. Yeah, because if you remember we spoke on the Arsenal game on here, didn't we? And he was the referee at the time, and I said, why was he allowed to come back in if he was clearly inexperienced then? If it's down to age, fair enough. But if they're still coming up with these bad decisions, God forbid, you know what? It's too long to rant over. And I've got to make a special mention to Jordan Pickford because he was outstanding in that game. He was really back to his basics. I think City would win it without him playing as well as what he did. He's not consistent, but when he's at his best, he's at his best. But this is the way I look at it with VAR. You get a bad driver. Buying him a new car is not going to make him a better driver. It's just gonna keep the problem going. And this is how it is with this system. The referees are still going to be bad, no matter what. If you improve the system, the problem's still there because it's the referees that are the problem. But yeah, look, unfortunate for Liverpool because that really could come down to your future at the end of the season. I'm hoping now if City do win the league, that it's more than 3 points because otherwise, all hell is going to break loose. And it'll be interesting to see how that follows up, really. Whether, like you said, Chris, because now that apology has been made, what happens for Paul Tierney? We surely don't see him in the Premier League this weekend. Like,
you will.
Imagine the.
I think we will. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. There's the problem. The issues I have with there is one is the accountability. There is zero accountability. You know, if a player makes a mistake, they're dropped by the manager. Why isn't Mike Riley dropped? You know, if a referee makes a mistake, they should have the same accountability as a footballer. In the sense of you make a mistake and Mike Riley has to apologise to the club via the media and, you know, tarnish the reputation of referees in this country, you should be taking a week off. Sorry. Yeah. And then the second point is as then you touched on, the second point is the use of technology. I'm still trying to understand how the Premier League use it. Very much, you know, if a referee goes to the screen, it's 100% going to be overturned. They're not using the screen to basically say, Go review it yourself and let me know what you think. The VAR's going, you've made a mistake. Go to the screen. And the referee then looks at it and goes, oh, I have made a mistake. And then basically just overturns it. Whereas actually, like in other countries, the referee is given the complete authority over any decision. So the VAR will say, look, I want you to go a second opinion, go have a look at the screen. We just don't do it in this country. And this is where we get these debates like this. It's ridiculous.
It's the same for football players in a team. If you've got Adi Akinbaye up top and he's missing sitters from 2 yards every week, you ain't going to play him because he's making mistakes. You put him in the reserves. They need to do the same with the referees.
Oh my god!
How many weeks?
What I will say
How many
about
weeks
the
have you been
title
thinking
race-
about that one?
Yeah, I know.
No, literally, it just came in my head. What I will say about the title race, though, as a Liverpool fan, I don't think it's going to make a difference. At the end of the day, it's in both teams' hands still. So, but Liverpool win all their games.
Points will be
they probably
dropped
win
here
the
or
league.
there
Same
anyway.
for City. Yes, but either team, if they win all,
You
their
still got to
games-
play each other as well, haven't you?
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's 3 points in it. Liverpool got a better goal difference. Win all the games, they win the league. As simple as that. So you can't. I don't think they can. We can look. It's a shit decision. It is. Can't be too bitter about it. Plus, it was Everton that lost. So fuck them.
Fair play. But yeah,
Actually, but then on the flip side of that, we're talking about Liverpool in the title race. Given how tight it is down the bottom, what if Everton get relegated by a point?
Yeah,
true. That's where it becomes interesting. That's where I would have an uproar. I mean, we saw Lampard. He was annoyed enough. He said that his 3-year-old daughter would be able to notice that it was that it was a handball. But
yeah, I did enjoy Lampard's comments.
Apparently he's had personal phone conversations with Mike Riley about it, apologising. That would just make me more angry.
Mike Riley's a clown. He's a clown.
Yeah, he's clearly just an idiot. But before we touch on to the magnificent triumph, a bit of a bittersweet for Liverpool. West Ham getting a good win over Wolves, 1-0. Huge victory for David Moyes. West Ham did well, to be honest, to get over the line. Like Wolves were back-to-back defeats. I thought they were going to come and respond. To be honest, Wolves have got Palace and Watford next, so I think they will get back to business. They're in the top 4 race as much as anyone at the moment. But fair play to West Ham getting a win there, because they're facing Southampton and Liverpool in their next 2 games, which is not going to be easy. And then they've got Europa League. Huge couple of weeks for them. But let's move on, because I know Lee is sitting there wanting to talk about probably the best 0-0 I've seen in at least the last 2 seasons. 0-0s aren't ones I tend to remember, but yeah, they won. Lee, give us your thoughts, mate, on this triumph. In fact, the first I want to go into, because I want to give my little 2 pence on this bloody situation. I mean, Mendy had the game of his life. What the hell is happening here?
I mean, it's the obvious talking point to start with, isn't it?
Yeah. What is he doing? Why is he taking him off? Mendy was brilliant. I thought he had a
Mendy, one
game.
of the best goalkeepers in world football, and you take him off for Kepa.
No, you took him off for Kepa because he had one good Super Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just a manager error. He's tried to gain an advantage and it's backfired. So he's learned his mistake, hopefully, for his own sake.
11 goals conceded, 1 penalty missed. Cheers.
It's quite amusing. It's quite amusing the fact that everyone was like, there's so many people in uproar that Liverpool said months ago that they were going to start Kelleher in goal and not Alisson, and it turns out to be the Chelsea sub keeper that's fucked it in the final.
Yeah,
I love it.
You're one that won it. But yeah, what was your thoughts on the games overall? I mean, to me,
Brilliant
I wouldn't have liked to have any sort of emotion or attachment to that game, because I was on the edge.
It was one of the most nerve-wracking games I've seen. I suppose it made it a bit easier. I was quite hungover on Sunday, but yeah, it was nervous. It was 2 teams playing what I thought was a very high level of football. I don't think either team really sat back, apart from some tired legs and extra time. Both teams had chances to score. Both teams had a disallowed goal, which were both contentious, I think, with VAR as usual. Either goal probably could have stood. Yeah, obviously, I feel like Chelsea maybe had the better chances with Mason Mount.
Yeah, wasteful he was.
Yeah, he was, but you take that. You got those the big players take those chances in the big games, and yeah, neither team took their chances. And yeah, penalties are. I would say penalties are a lottery, but there's been a lot of articles since about all the data Liverpool used in their shootout, and it clearly paid off. So hats off to the data team, whoever they are behind the scenes, that done their research. It's
Yeah,
very rare you see that many penalties go in, and they were actually really, really good penalties from both teams.
I didn't think it was going to end. I generally wanted I actually wanted Kepa to score because I've never seen it go round again because I thought like what the hell happens now? I've never actually witnessed that.
Shouts to Fabinho for possibly the most ballsy penalty I've seen in a final since Zidane in the World Cup.
I'll go Van Dijk. I think Van Dijk's ballsy.
And the fact that it actually went in as well, like
it
does look. Obviously, in our group chat, Chris, like you said, I don't know how it's not been saved, but then it probably looks a lot closer to the keeper than what it is. Like the power in it just looks absolutely unbelievable.
But I get the whole power argument, and yeah, it was a very powerful shot, but you're standing that side of the goal. Like the Kepa's gone to play mind games and stood 60% along, maybe 60, 65, 70%. If the Van Dijk is going that way, you've got to be, as a keeper and as a penalty specialist, you've got to be expected to save that.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, another comment as well. Jorginho going in the middle. How does no one know that? But he goes in the middle each time. Like we saw it in the Euros. I've seen it countless of times for Chelsea. I don't get it. I mean, I'm not going to give Alisson any discredit because at the end of the day, the job got done. But whenever Jorginho's taking a penalty, he's always going down the middle. He does it each time. But yeah, massive win for Liverpool.
There's a few comments actually I wanted to say about the celebrations because there's been some debate about them. To be honest, there was three different things that I've got to talk about. The first one that was a really nice moment I thought was when Alisson put the little kid on the trophy lift.
Oh yeah.
Which I thought was lovely. The second one was Harvey Elliott holding a flare. I don't know why there's so much uproar about it.
I love it.
The FA want to talk to him about it. He's celebrating a trophy win. So what if he's got a flare with some red smoke out of it?
As long as you don't put it in someone's face, I don't see why it's a problem. As long as you don't cause any problems.
Or butt cheeks.
Yeah. I mean, he's been a Liverpool fan since he was a kid. He used to go to the games before he signed for us. He went to the Champions League final a couple of years ago.
He's young. Let him have some fun.
He's a young lad. And obviously, people have been saying it's really cringy, all the dancing in the changing rooms. Again, just won a trophy.
Oh,
don't.
Is that Chelsea fans, is it?
Yeah, probably.
No, it's multiple. A lot of United fans, Chelsea fans.
I'll be honest with you. I actually like the one thing I get kind of jealous of is always seeing Liverpool celebrations. Like when you won the Champions League, seeing you all like rave till God knows what time in the morning. I just think it's class.
I love it. All the dancing and that, I'm all for it. I like that from any team. Even that year.
Obviously, I've got my Arsenal hat off here. Secretly, I bloody despise it, but I've got to be biased.
Just what society we're in now when we're criticizing people's celebrations? Like they've just won a bloody trophy. They can dad dance for 3 hours on a table for what I care. They've just won a sodding trophy. Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's just jealousy, isn't it?
It's going to be really interesting to see if obviously Liverpool. That's their minimum requirement this year is winning that trophy. So it'd be interesting to see how they go in the other competitions.
I did a poll actually on our Twitter. And 1 or 2 won in the end. I put 1 or 2 treble or quadruple, and someone put 1 or. Most people said 1 or 2, which I would probably say. I think this, and I feel like you'll either clinch the title or FA Cup. I don't think an English team is going to win Champions League this year. I've just got a funny feeling. I'm feeling towards it.
I'm feeling towards a domestic double. I think it might be FA Cup. I think Champions League and League can be a bit of a.
If an English team win it this year, the Champions League, that'll be 3 years, 3 in the last 4 years that an English team have won it. I just don't think that will happen.
The only thing is, I only think there's 2 other challenges to the English team.
Yeah,
and that's PSG and Bayern. Yeah,
PSG aren't that good.
No, I honestly think Bayern win it this year. It all
No.
depends on who. It all depends on who gets
I'm
who
going
meets each other. Though.
I'm going Liverpool.
Interesting, but yeah, I feel like it's going to be.
It depends. If we can
It'll
keep
be a case
Thiago
of.
fit, yeah, we're up there.
It'll be a case of the Carabao Cup and either the title or the Champions League. I don't think there's no way that City are walking this year without a trophy, though. There is no way.
I think City will do the league, Liverpool Champions League, and maybe Liverpool sneak the FA Cup as well.
Maybe a bit of a shock in the FA Cup.
Treble. If Liverpool get the
maybe
treble, then the Klopp Pep argument can maybe go to bed. But I do want to touch on this before we wrap up because this is to do obviously with what we were touching on earlier. Roman Abramovich has stepped back. Where do we go with this? I mean, for me, if I'm going to take again, I say my sort of rivalry hat off and look at it from a perspective of just a football goer, and I don't hate Chelsea. It's a good move because for him, it's bad way he's having to do it, but from what he's done is actually quite clever because he's putting charity he's putting a charitable aspect on the business, which is allowing him to think, right, they're not going to touch that, UK won't get involved in seizing sort of assets that are to do with charity. But however, he's still in charge. So Chris, I want to know what you think, and then Lee, I'm going to go to you as well because it's quite an interesting topic.
It's a smokescreen. It's 100% a smokescreen. I've been reading this quite a lot because I'm very much a case of again, trying to go along the political route here. I don't like the way that the governments have been almost giving Roman Abramovich free reign. We've been seizing assets and clamping down elsewhere, but also every single time an opposition MP challenges, and it's like, what's about Roman? It's a smokescreen. So yeah, to be honest, I've been reading a lot about this. Quite a lot of legal lawyers along with sports journalists have made comments of stewardship means nothing. End of the day, Roman Abramovich is still the owner of Chelsea Football Club. If the UK government sees the club or sees its assets, there's nothing the current situation of this stewardship can protect. It's just a PR smokescreen from my understanding, from what I've been reading.
I did wonder that because I thought he's still an owner. He's still an owner. Yeah, he's taken a step back, but he's still in charge of the bloody thing. So.
And the revelation account last night is the trustees all haven't agreed it still. So this is more his
still ongoing.
Yeah, this is more his will than actually been finalized, because the trustees include people like the women's team manager. I think there's a few other people involved as well that you just don't know whether they want to get their name not sort of their name tarnished, but be privy to this in that sense.
So, I read Emma Hayes is a trustee. I think
that's it. Yeah, that's Emma Hayes. Sorry, Emma Hayes. Yeah, Emma Hayes is a trustee. So the name escaped me there. But then also the other one is the Charities Commission, so the actual charity watchdog organisation within the UK have actually come out and I think Chelsea submitted to them that there's still some uncertainties. I just know there's a lot of legal ramifications about exactly, is this legal? Is it morally legal? Is it because the thing is, doing something like this, there's a lot of background writing to it of is this a maneuver around the UK government, yada yada yada, and obviously there is connotations and worries that it is. So exactly what it looks like in a couple of weeks' time, who knows? But I think personally, the discussion is, and as much as I hate Chelsea, they are the OG of sports washing. What Roman has built has been basically built up to the Russian World Cup, all that lot. Park that side completely. They are still a football club. They still have people employed there. People, backroom staff, academies. They are still almost a community based entity. No one wants to see them be financially stricken or whatever. The punishment should be laid with Roman in regards to assets and stuff like that. So as long as there's a feasible solution, which is basically the club can still exist, the club can but we are able to do the sanctions that we need as a country to be able to put pressure on Russia to end this war effectively. I think an amicable solution for all parties is involved. Sports washing, I dislike, and I just dislike smoke screening and stuff like that. I've been very, very vocal around the way the media have been portraying this. One media in particular is very, very believe the hype. They drink the Kool-Aid all the time, and are basically just a PR spin for it all. Whereas actually the investigating journalists, and to anyone watching the pod, I do encourage get on Twitter and have a look. Matt Law at the Telegraph was very hot on this, and some of the stuff. The people at the Athletic as well, they're very good as well because actually they tear down the smoke screens and actually see what's underneath the hood.
Yeah, don't read the Sun.
No,
don't read the Sun. Lee, do you think this will maybe push him towards selling the club now, or do you think he knows that this is going to die down?
He ain't going to sell. Fucking hell, no chance. I'm not as informed as Chris.
Me neither, mate. Don't worry.
I saw the statement, and all I originally thought is he's just passing it over to someone to just sit in the chair while you can't do anything, basically.
This is smoke with the fire, though, isn't it? Do you know how they say there's no smoke without fire?
Obviously, you see, he's
a
friend. He's a friend of Putin. There's no, you've seen them pictures together. There's no disputing that, and he wants his business protected, so he's just put some fucking PR exercise in there, not to. I don't know. I don't know what the sanctions would be, but.
Did you guys see? Was it his PR or his people released a statement to say he was at the front line in negotiations for a ceasefire the other day?
Yeah, right.
behave. But guys, I think that is a wrap. It's good to be back. Everyone that has tuned in, I see a lot of you have tuned in on Twitter. Make sure you do come over to YouTube. We're gonna have content coming now, hopefully every week. But yeah, content's coming soon. Make sure you hit that button and subscribe. I hope you all have a good rest of the week, and we will catch you guys soon. Take care for now. Cheers, guys. Bye all.
Cheers.